Tonight on Fox 9 Now in HD, city officials say a proposed $100 million sports park complex for downtown Boise could become a reality as soon as 2020. And if you've been to the foothills, you might have walked right by. Researchers discover an undescribed plant species in Boise's backyard. But first,
freedom of thought and speech on American campus are under attack.
In a speech on alleged censorship at American universities, U.S. Attorney Jeff Sessions singles out the code of conduct at Boise State as an example of the problem.
Watching Fox 9 Now News at 9. It's about time.
And thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Roland Barris. Tonight's big story, Boise State University responding to criticism from the U.S. Attorney General. In comments at Georgetown University, Jeff Sessions warned of American universities turning into, quote, an echo chamber of political correctness and homogenous thought, a shelter for fragile egos, as he put it. Sessions condemned what he sees as universities giving into what he calls a, quote, heckler's veto, canceling speaking engagements due to concerns over violent protests. Sessions then listed off some policies he finds concerning, including one at Boise State.
For example, at Boise State University in Idaho, the Student Code of Conduct prohibits, quote, conduct that a reasonable person would find offensive, close quote. But who decides what is offensive and what is acceptable? Speech and civility codes often violate what the late Justice Antonin Scalia rightly called, quote, the first axiom of the First Amendment.
Sessions also announced the Justice Department would submit a statement of interest in a campus free speech lawsuit and says he anticipates more such moves soon. So Boise State responding today with a statement that reads in part, Boise State could not agree more that, quote, a university is about the search for truth, not the imposition of truth by a government censor. But the university's statement says the policy Sessions refers to does not concern offensive speech, but rather disorderly conduct. The statement further points to the policy's very first section where it reads, quote, students enjoy the same freedoms of speech, peaceful assembly, and right of petition that all citizens in the U.S. enjoy, and states nothing in the Student Code of Conduct shall infringe on rights guaranteed by the Constitution. Boise State says it spent more than a year revising its policies on free speech in consultation with the Idaho Freedom Foundation and the Idaho branch of the ACLU, and it says that it is committed to supporting free expression. In other local news, a 19-year-old Meridian man is hospitalized with a self-inflicted gunshot wound after a 5-hour standoff in Kuna. Fox 9 Now's Karen Laird joins us live from the scene with the very latest. Karen?
That's right, Roland. Now that suspect barricaded himself in his vehicle, which is on the street right behind me, currently sandwiched between two SWAT-like vehicles. And the residents here on Blackhawk Drive are now finally allowed back into their homes after a 5-hour-long standoff. Now, they originally got that call around 2:30 this afternoon, and the person who called 911 was the victim in an ongoing felony stalking investigation involving that suspect. The police say he violated that restraining order by even being here, but he then barricaded himself inside his car with a weapon. Boise, Garden City, and Kuna police surrounded the area, evacuated nearby homes, and called in the Ada County Metro SWAT team.
We did put out a code red alert to about 15 houses in the direct area, letting them know to shelter in place. And once we got more officers on scene, we house by house did evacuate those homes.
Now, police say the suspect shot himself in the abdomen as the SWAT team moved in, and at this point the injuries do not appear to be life-threatening. That suspect will likely face felony stalking charges, but of course charges are pending. The investigation still ongoing and still an active crime scene out here in the neighborhood in Kuna. Reporting live in Ada County, I'm Karen Laird, Fox 9 Now.
All right, Karen, thanks for the latest. An update now to a story that Fox 9 Now has been closely following for you. The reserve police officer from Idaho, whose nurse defended him from an illegal blood draw in Utah, has died. William Gray died late Monday night. He suffered burns over nearly half of his body after his semi-truck was involved in a fiery crash in July. Now, his story, of course, made national news when his nurse refused a demand by police to draw his blood while he was unconscious. The nurse, Alex Wubbles, was wrongfully arrested by Detective Jeff Payne for not allowing the blood drop. Payne and his supervisor were placed on leave amid multiple investigations when the disturbing video went viral. Well, the Treasure Valley continues to rally behind Nathan Ogden, the Meridian man whose specialized wheelchair disappeared at the Boise State football game over the weekend. And donations have been pouring into a GoFundMe page for Ogden. Fox 9 Now's Lacey Darrow joins us live in studio, and he's raised way more than he needed for a new chair, right?
No, absolutely, Roland. The chair only costs $4,000, but he's raised well over $20,000 in just days, thanks large in part to a donation from a Boise businessman. But he's got big plans to actually help others with that money.
It started as a way for Nathan Ogden to replace his missing wheelchair, but now it's turned into something much more. This all began Friday when Ogden was watching the Boise State game at Albertson Stadium.
I was carried down to our seats that we were in. At halftime, they're carrying me back up to my wheelchair. I'm a quadriplegic. I'm not able to move most of my body. And the chair was gone.
Initially, they thought someone had just moved it, but after working with police and BSU security, it has yet to resurface. Then a friend brought up the idea of starting a GoFundMe page to replace the chair.
I said, no, let's wait. We'll find it. It'll pop up. And finally someone said, I'm doing it. I don't, whether you say or not, I'm starting one.
The original goal was $20,000.
It was pretty cool how quickly people jumped on and started to support, to help me be able to get a new wheelchair.
Then came a generous donation of $20,000 by local businessman Ryan DeLuca.
When you hear the story and of somebody losing their wheelchair here in Boise and just realizing like what a huge inconvenience this is and a huge expense it's going to be for him, I realized that they weren't going to find it and he needed the help, and I was really happy to be able to do it.
Now the goal has been raised, but not to help Nathan. Nathan has raised money in the past for Chair the Hope, an organization that provides wheelchairs to those in other countries who couldn't otherwise afford them. Now, any extra money raised will go towards a great cause.
This is a cause that I can get 100% behind because I know what it is. And I will fight like crazy to help others to get what they need because I live it.
Even though Ryan DeLuca has already given $20,000, he says that's just the beginning. He's willing to actually match donations up to an additional $20,000 to give to others in need of wheelchairs. Live in studio, Lacey Darrow, Fox 9 Now.
This is your Fox 9 Now forecast.
Not necessarily all that rain. It's typically a little drier, although we're actually pretty close to normal. It just all came in 1 week. Here's the high temperature for the day, 72, normal 74, so we're right there in the ballpark. Record high temperature 93 set back in 1963, and again, about a ½ inch of rain is normal. None today, but that's about where we're sitting for the month, so we'll end up maybe just around average, possibly a little bit below. We'll see how it pans out over the next week or so. 61 degrees right now. The sky is mostly clear. The wind is still light. Pressure's rising. Dry air is moving in. Look at these high temperatures today. Look at this in Twin Falls, 66, 72 in Boise, 77 in Ontario, 74 in Baker City. So warmer temperatures are to the west, and that warmer weather is tracking on in. Slowly, but it will get a little bit warmer during the day tomorrow, especially in the Western Valley. 47 degrees and mostly clear overnight with just that light wind around. Coming up for the day tomorrow, I expect sunshine from start to finish. An amazing day, just like today, just a little bit warmer and all that sunshine, no cloud cover at all, and just about no wind, very light conditions. My extended forecast has some changes that you won't want to miss coming up.
All right, thanks, Scott. Well, we've been lucky to avoid conditions like this recently, but this is the Canyon fire in California, near Corona, California, tonight causing the evacuation of 500 homes. And this is part of the most expensive wildfire season on record that just keeps on going. Today, members of Idaho's congressional delegation met with agriculture and forest service leaders in Washington, D.C. to discuss the devastation. Fox 9 Now's Marissa Morrison has more on what Idaho's leaders are doing to prevent and protect the state from fire.
The national cost of fighting fires in 2017 has already surpassed the $2 billion mark. With a price tag of more than $2.3 billion, this year tops the previous record set back in 2015.
Expected to increase up to or over $2.4 billion.
Idaho Senators Mike Crapo and Jim Risch are working with other Western lawmakers to introduce the Wildfire Disaster Funding Act, legislation aimed at treating wildfires like other natural disasters when it comes to budgeting. Tuesday, Crapo told Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue he wants to see the measure on Congress's next emergency spending bill, one that's expected to pass to secure funds for hurricane relief in Puerto Rico.
We cannot keep saying, oh, let's do it on a different vehicle, let's do it at a later time. We have an opportunity now. We have a crisis occurring now, and it's as predictable a crisis as we ever could have found. But we need to come together and say no more waiting. We need to be on the next bill.
Severe wildfires over the past decade have caused firefighting agencies to engage in fire borrowing or dipping into other parts of the budgets to cover the cost of wildfires, depleting funds intended for forest restoration and fire prevention programs.
We're not going to stop all the fires, but I do believe we can stop a lot of these 100,000 acre fires that we see here by building some breaks and some barriers by good forest management.
Secretary Perdue told the Western senators he's been speaking with the Office of Management and Budget about their concerns. Marissa Morrison, Fox 9 Now.
In previous years, similar legislation aimed at treating and paying for wildfires like any other natural disaster has passed the House but never become law. Well, how would you like a plant named after you? Now you can, if the price is right. Professors at Boise State University and the College of Idaho have discovered this, a new species of plant right here in the Treasure Valley. The currently unnamed plant can be found in the Boise foothills. Technically, it's what's called an undescribed species. They've actually known about it since 2009, but no one was sure what it was. To make the discovery even more exciting, though, they are auctioning off the naming rights to the plant. They say it's not something that comes around every day, and it's a unique opportunity to memorialize someone or something.
The beauty of names like this is that they really are forever. You know, a building might be there for a while, and then it gets old and they tear it down and your building's gone and your name is gone with the building. This name will always be with the species as long as there is biological science.
And that would be pretty cool. Bids for naming the plant start at $10,000, though. The money raised will go towards even more plant research. Well, the city of Boise is one step closer tonight to creating a stadium complex near downtown. The city council announced today that it's moving forward with the project, which could bring the bright lights of baseball and soccer to the River District. Fox 9 Now's Stephanie Hale-Lopez has the story.
Boise could be home to a $100 million sports park complex as early as 2020.
In addition to the private mixed-use development, there would be the Boise Sports Park, which would be roughly $36 million towards the sports park itself, as well as $4 million of public improvement.
Early renderings show the Boise Sports Park, which would be built off of Shoreline Drive and Americana Boulevard, would seat around 5,000. City leaders say this 11-acre site downtown is likely the last parcel of land available for this project. The city says this project would fill the community's needs for a moderately sized sports and entertainment venue.
You know, I've been doing this long enough to know the timing has to be right in all these ways. And we really believe that the timing is right on this.
Project supporters cited the potential partnerships, such as Boise State's baseball and women's soccer teams, the Boise Hawks, youth sports, and the potential for a professional soccer team to call Boise home.
It brings in higher level coaching, brings in opportunities for the kids to go watch the game at a higher level. And in the end, it provides and will build a stronger base of youth players.
If approved, construction could begin in 2018. Stephanie Hale-Lopez, Fox 9 Now.
Well, Boise tech giant Micron is riding the bull on Wall Street. Today, the chip manufacturer released its fourth quarter earnings, and to the delight of investors at least, Micron beat Wall Street expectations on both earnings and revenue. In fact, revenue is up 91% year over year. Law enforcement in Boise and across the country are raising awareness this week about the dangers of train crossings. Officers spent the day at train intersections handing out railroad safety cards to motorists and pedestrians. The goal is to reduce pedestrian and driver injuries around railroad tracks through increased awareness. And the key, they say, is to treat a train track like any other intersection and make sure to look left and right.
You know, people get out and they get busy and they get in a hurry. We all need to allow ourselves the time that we need to get where we're going. If you see a train, you've got to yield to it, because if you tie, you lose.
It's an understatement. The average freight train weighs 12 million pounds and takes at least a mile to come to a stop. And remember, signs are posted at intersections with contact information if your car ever gets stuck on the tracks. You can call for help. Tired of that extra bike taking up space in your garage as you get ready for fall and, of course, winter? This weekend is your chance to clean it out for a good cause. Primary Health Medical Group has teamed up with the Boise Bicycle Project for their largest drive to date. The holiday bike drive will accept bicycles in any condition. They'll be refurbished or used for parts by BBP volunteers or their partner programs, and then they're given to kids in need.
Those bicycles are in as good a shape as new, if not better, but then they also get a brand new helmet as well. And these are really cool helmets, like the BMX skateboard style. And so we're so lucky for Primary Health to help us with that. And these kids get really excited. And so they get their bike, they get a helmet, they get a safety lesson, and then they get out into the community and they start riding around to all the places they need to go.
To donate, take a bike to any Primary Health urgent care location in the Treasure Valley this Saturday between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Tax receipts will be available for donors. Well, know someone who makes a difference in the community? Why not nominate them for a Jefferson Award? Fox 9 Now is partnering with the nationwide program to recognize those people and who inspire action on their behalf. We'll select one Jefferson Award recipient each month. One of those winners will be picked to represent our area at the annual banquet in Washington, D.C. and could receive the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Volunteer of the Year Award. So, nominate someone who is making a real difference in our community by going to fox9now.com and clicking on the Jefferson Awards link. Winter isn't far away. Starting Sunday, drivers can legally throw the studded tires on their cars. Yep, the Transportation Department recommends only using them, though, when there's lots of snow on the road, which there's not right now, because they do cause some serious wear and tear on the highway. They have to be off your rig, by the way, by the end of April. Fox 9 Now has much more news in our second half hour. The Republican effort to repeal Obamacare is dead for now. The question now, will they try again? And if so, when? We'll take a closer look. And next on Fox 9 Now.
An all-American sport becoming a cross-country controversy. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with the latest on the president's feud with the NFL.
Right now in America, everyone, an all-American sport now dividing our country. President Trump taking to Twitter yet again today to weigh in on the issue of NFL players taking a knee during the national anthem. Fox's Lauren Blanchard has more.
Protests continuing along the NFL sidelines. President Trump kicking off his Tuesday, tweeting, quote, "The NFL has all sorts of rules and regulations. The only way out for them is to set a rule that you can't kneel during our national anthem."
People are clearly within their rights to express themselves how they see fit. My own view, though, is we shouldn't do it on the anthem.
Monday night, the Dallas Cowboys linking arms and kneeling, but then standing for the national anthem, including the team's owner, Jerry Jones, a staunch Trump supporter. The Arizona Cardinals also joined arms Monday night, but did not kneel. In response, the president tweeting, quote, "The booing at the NFL football game last night when the entire Dallas team dropped to its knees was loudest I have ever heard. Great anger." The president later tweeted, "They all stood up for the national anthem. Big progress being made." All this after Mr. Trump called for players not standing for the anthem to be fired last week, as players have been protesting racial injustice.
He used the sports platform to try to divide us. The people run this country, not one individual, and damn sure not him.
Meantime, Alejandro Villanueva of the Pittsburgh Steelers is now weighing in. He stood alone for the anthem Sunday night while his teammates waited in the locker room.
Unintentionally, I left my teammates behind. I just thought that there was to be some middle ground where I could stay in the tunnel. Nobody would see me.
The debate becoming a flashpoint on social media, generating millions of tweets, while many fans say they just want to watch the game politics free. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Well, that may not happen for a while. The widow of former NFL player and slain Army Ranger Pat Tillman is asking the president to keep her family's story out of the national anthem controversy. Now, Tillman, you might remember, was killed in Afghanistan by friendly fire in 2004. He gave up his NFL career to join up and serve his country. On Monday, President Trump posted a retweet that invoked Pat Tillman's name while promoting Trump's stance on the controversy. Marie Tillman has been an outspoken critic of the president and says her husband would be too if he were alive today. In a statement to CNN, she said, "The very action of self-expression and the freedom to speak from one's heart, no matter those views, is what Pat and so many other Americans have given their lives for." President Trump is congratulating Roy Moore tonight for winning the Alabama Senate race to replace Jeff Sessions. Of course, Moore was not the president's choice. He was campaigning hard for Luther Strange. Moore was backed up by former Trump strategist Steve Bannon.
Let's take a look at that forecast. Ooh, we've got some changes coming on in, but before it gets cool, it's going to warm up. Some beautiful weather. Can it get any better than this? The dramatic change could come in for the weekend. My complete Fox 9 Now forecast is coming up.
This is your Fox 9 Now forecast.
Well, this is more like it. That's what I've been hearing from a lot of folks comparing last week to this week. The cooler weather started to slide to the east. We're warming back up. 72 in Boise, 54 degrees in Jackson, Wyoming. Look at the cool weather in western Wyoming. We've had a lot of snow in those higher elevations. Could be a little more coming in towards Friday, way back east there. But to the west, look at this, 85 degrees in Medford. It was 80 in Portland today. So the temperature's warming to the west, and that weather is slowly kind of creeping in. It's actually going to the north and coming in from the north and west. And so our temperatures will be on the rise over the next couple of days. Our 24-hour temperature change as we move through the day. You saw lots of yellow there when we had our high temperatures, and that's when we had our warmest weather. Now, you look at the high temperature map, and it's a tale of two different sides of the country here by far. 75 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and look at this, it's 93. That was the high temperature in Detroit today, 92 in Chicago, still 78 in Boston, but inland sections very warm, well into the 80s and some 90 showing up. So the heat's been blasting up to the northeast. Cool weather, which came across the northwest, is starting to push inland. That's allowing the heat to move up the coast. 88 in San Francisco today. Not bad at all. Here's what's happening at McCall. Today we had sunshine and the clouds trying to form, but dry air was coming in, and that was kind of combating the cloud cover. But now you see that the sun went down, no more heating. A beautiful sunset this evening. 7:15, you see that 60-degree reading. Not bad at all. My extended forecast for the McCall area, a couple of amazing days. 3 amazing days coming up. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, upper 60s to near 70. Beautiful conditions. Then on Saturday, a cold front comes through. Rain showers are likely with snow showers in the higher peaks. So showers likely Saturday, a chilly day on Sunday, and Monday with snow in the mountains on Monday, and partly cloudy during the day Tuesday. So enjoy the next 3 days because it is going to be cooling down, but not much in the as far as precipitation goes. Really no cloud cover around at all. The cool air is sliding to the east, and look at this, the pleasant weather just coming in across southern Idaho. Perfect location for that, and the warmer temperatures that we've been talking about to the west here, we will get some of that before that cold front comes in and cuts it off at the pass by the time we get to the weekend. But in the meantime, you look at this futurecast, you don't see much of anything. Midday Wednesday, clear. Midday Thursday, here comes a storm from the south, but it's staying away from most of Idaho. Now Friday, we keep a close eye on this because as we move through late in the day Friday, 5 o'clock, clouds increasing. So before the sun goes down on Friday, we'll get some cloud cover. That will make it maybe feel a little bit cooler in the evening. A slight chance for showers coming in during the morning. And yeah, there's a chance for some snow flying as well, mostly in the higher elevations. This will be more towards the middle part of next week. Not significant, but it is certainly going to be noticeable as that warmer weather that we have for the next 3 days, giving us very pleasant conditions, gets replaced by this cooler weather and that chance of rain Saturday morning. It will be much cooler this weekend. That is going to be the screaming message coming in. So my exclusive true view of tomorrow's weather today shows the sunshine and an amazing day. If you like today, you will love tomorrow. 76 throughout the Western Valley, 70s in the Boise area, about low to mid 70s. Boise County getting into the 70s as well. And in the west central mountains tomorrow, I expect highs near 70 and close to 80 degrees in the Riggins area. We're talking about some really comfortable weather coming in. Stanley, you'll be warming into the 60s after lows in the 20s. Here's my extended forecast. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, mid 70s. Absolutely amazing weather before the bottom drops out on the weekend, Roland. I've got a 50% chance of showers. It's probably a little bit of rain in the morning is possible for some of those morning soccer and baseball, softball games. There's a chance. I'll keep you updated. It may stay to the north, but this is what's not going to stay to the north is the cool weather. Big change coming in over the weekend.
Nice weather right now, though.
Friday looks great.
Fabulous. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Still to come on Fox 9 Now, tensions remain high with North Korea as experts say the rogue country lacks the capability to shoot down U.S. warplanes. Right now in the world, President Trump says the U.S. is totally prepared to take the military option against North Korea. This is experts say the rogue country lacks the ability to shoot down American warplanes, although they have done so in the past. We are also hearing tonight from the parents of an American student who died shortly after being released from North Korean custody. Here's more from Fox's Rich Edson.
Fred and Cindy Warmbier would finally see their son Otto, returned from a North Korean prison after more than a year in captivity.
We weren't prepared for what we had. And then when we saw Otto the way he was, we loved him, we're proud of him, but no mother, no parent should ever have gone through what we went through.
Otto had a shaved head. He had a feeding tube coming out of his nose. He was staring blankly into space, jerking violently. He was blind. He was deaf.
Otto died less than a week later, on June 19th. North Korea says Warmbier's death is a mystery and claims it is the victim.
But North Korea is not a victim. They're terrorists. They kidnapped Otto. They tortured him. They intentionally injured him.
He then called on the U.S. government to list North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. That would immediately impose even more restrictions on North Korea.
This is something that we constantly assess. I know the Secretary has certainly looked at that. Had looked at that certainly in the past when it came to Otto Warmbier. I don't know if that's something that we're looking at today.
The administration today announced additional sanctions, targeting 8 North Korean banks and 26 people linked to North Korea's finance network. The president also thanked Chinese President Xi Jinping.
I applaud China's latest action to restrict its trade with North Korea. And in particular, I applaud China for breaking off all banking relationships with North Korea, something that people would have thought unthinkable even 2 months ago.
President Trump and North Korea resumed their threat exchanges. Administration officials claim the U.S. can easily overwhelm North Korean capabilities if attacked. Those say they want to avoid war.
We're going to continue to pursue our diplomatic efforts and hope that that's the way we'll solve this.
Those diplomatic efforts take Secretary Tillerson back to Beijing. The State Department's announced the Secretary will travel there Thursday. At the State Department, Rich Edson, Fox News.
Dozens of civilians allegedly killed in the latest Russian airstrikes targeting terrorists in Syria. So this is footage released by the Russian Defense Ministry today. The airstrikes allegedly targeted underground militant bases, arms depots, and military hardware. An advocate group says at least 37 civilians, though, died in the attack. However, Russian officials say the facilities were located far from residential areas. Iraq and Turkey announcing joint military maneuvers along their mutual border. The announcement coming just minutes after polls for Kurdistan's independence referendum closed on Monday. The Kurds are the 4th largest ethnic group in the Middle East, but they lack a nation state of their own. Both Iraq and Turkey have condemned the vote, with Turkish leaders threatening possible military action. The U.S. also opposed the referendum, saying it was a distraction from the fight against ISIS. In Kenya, demonstrators are calling for an overhaul to the country's electoral commission, and they want it to happen before a second election vote at the end of next month. As Fox 9 Now reported, Kenya's Supreme Court annulled the result of a prior election earlier this year, saying it was not conducted in line with the Constitution. A historic day for women's rights in Saudi Arabia to tell you about. King Salman taking to state television to announce the end of a ban on female drivers. Saudi officials say they hope the move will boost the economy and allow more women to enter the workforce. Meanwhile, Uber running into trouble in another major international hub. A day after officials in London revoked the company's taxi operating license, Uber is threatening to pull out of Quebec. The ride-sharing giant says it will be leaving next month if the province doesn't roll back new regulations introduced last week. Coming up on Fox 9 Now, GOP leaders in the Senate decide not to hold a new health care vote after failing to win enough Republican support.
The Fox 9 Now Allergy Report brought to you by Boise Valley Asthma and Allergy Clinic.
Well, we're watching. The rain came and went from last week, and we look at what's up this week, and the pollen is not really coming back. Hedapod and sage still around 7 each, so 14. We're still in the low category. There's some good news, so you could open the window, get that refreshing air, and there's no smoke and not much pollen in the air, so certainly saving on energy costs right now. I'll let you know later this week if this goes up.
It's nice to be able to see the foothills too. That's very nice. In tonight's health report, everyone, Republican senators abandoning last-ditch effort to repeal and replace Obamacare. GOP Senate leaders say they will not vote on the so-called Graham-Cassidy bill after once again failing to secure the necessary support from their own party. While Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell vows to keep trying, the effort is dead for now.
Through events that are under our control and not under our control, we don't have the votes.
Today, Americans breathe a sigh of relief because the health care of millions has been protected and preserved.
President Trump threatening Republicans today that if they fail to act on health care, he will work with Democrats. A new CDC report suggests that sexually transmitted diseases have hit an all-time high in the United States. The agency reporting more than 2 million cases of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis in the United States last year. The CDC says state and local health officials should refocus their efforts on prevention to stop the spread of disease. A possible breakthrough for the detection of the devastating brain disease CTE. CTE, caused by repeated blows to the head, has so far only been diagnosable after a person's death. But researchers believe they have identified a certain biomarker that could be a potential warning sign in the living. More research, though, needed to confirm the finding. Let's hope they do. And this finding comes as new research shows as many as 1 in 5 U.S. teens may have suffered a concussion, and contact sports might often be to blame. Scientists looked at data on more than 13,000 boys and girls and found nearly 20% had at least one diagnosed concussion. 6% of those children reported having more than one. Apparent risk factors include being male, white, in a higher grade, and participating in competitive sports. Coffee sold in California may soon carry a health warning. A lawsuit claims 90 companies are failing to follow state law, which requires warnings for dangerous chemicals. The suit is particularly focused on acrylamide, which carries a possible cancer risk. But coffee companies are firing back that while the chemical is present in their product, it is only there in harmless levels. Another serious health warning for tourists heading to Mexico, this time over possibly meth-contaminated 7-Up. That's right, you heard right. The drinks have caused at least 7 people to become ill and have killed 1 person. A spokesman for the Dr. Pepper Snapple group says no 7-Up products in the U.S. have been contaminated. An investigation is underway, though, to figure out how the drug made its way into that soda down in Mexico. As Fox 9 Now reported, Mexico has also recently struggled with concerns over tainted alcohol and, of course, increased cartel violence. Still ahead on Fox 9 Now tonight, a covert investigation leads to the arrest of several coaches as a corruption scandal rocks college basketball. And welcome back. Making entertainment news tonight, Travolta goes Teflon and the Foo Fighters strike gold. Fox's Michelle Polino has those stories and more in tonight's Hollywood Nation.
Stephen King's box office record breaker It is getting a second installment. Warner Brothers announced Monday Pennywise the Clown will be back to terrorize the townfolk of Derry, Maine in 2019. Demi Lovato is the latest pop star to air her laundry on the small screen. The singer's YouTube documentary, Demi Lovato Simply Complicated, will give fans an intimate look at her life, including the making of her upcoming album, her road to sobriety, and her struggles with an eating disorder. Foo Fighters racked up their second #1 album this week. The alt-rockers' latest studio effort, Concrete and Gold, debuted in the top spot on the Billboard 200 chart. They earned their first #1 back in 2011. Netflix has scored a cast of Hollywood heavyweights for its original comedy, The Last Laugh. Richard Dreyfuss, Chevy Chase, Louis Black, and Andy McDowell are on board to top line the bucket list buddy flick starting production this week in New Orleans.
Mr. Gotti, are you the head of the Gambino crime family?
And the first trailer for John Travolta's upcoming Teflon Don biopic, Gotti, hit the web Tuesday. The People vs. O.J. Simpson star transforms into the late John Gotti for the crime drama, chronicling the mafia kingpin's 30-year rise to power, due out in December. In Hollywood, Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Look at Travolta, he never ages. It's amazing. Retail giant Target announcing a major boost to the minimum wage that it pays its employees. The company's hourly wage will rise to $11 an hour starting next month. The goal is to bump that wage to $15 an hour by the end of 2020. Target says the moves are part of an effort to recruit and retain employees and provide better service to customers and communities. Wow, well, a major scandal is rocking the world of college basketball tonight. The FBI arresting and charging at least 10 people so far. This in connection with an investigation into alleged bribery and kickback schemes at many of the country's top-tier programs. 4 coaches, as well as managers and advisors, and the director of sports marketing at Adidas are charged with corruption. The investigation is focusing on the cutthroat and often lucrative recruiting process that brings elite high school basketball players into Division I programs and then moves them on to the professional leagues.
You can make millions off of one kid. While pushing these professionals, the bribe coaches showed little regard for the players' well-being. They ignored red flags, seeing only the green of the cash bribes flowing their way.
You can bet we're going to be hearing a lot more about this coming down in the next few weeks. Acting U.S. Attorney June Kim says the investigation was conducted covertly. Investigators only notifying the NCAA of the charges and arrests this morning. All right, we transition to sports now. A little shocking to see all that, huh?
It's going to play out for quite a while, I bet, for sure.
Looks
well,
that
the
way.
Vandals, they were the only team to win in the Gym State this last week. We're going to hear from head coach Paul Petrino coming up after the break.
The Fish and Game Forecast is brought to you locally by Corwin Ford.
With the moon in its first quarter and at apogee on Wednesday, September 27th, activity levels start a bit later. The first significant good period lasts from 5:30 a.m. until 8:30 a.m. with the morning peak at 7. Another major good period lasts from 7 p.m. until 9:30 with the evening peak at 8. For more information, go to fox9now.com.
This is Fox 9 Now Sports with Dan Hogg.
The Idaho Vandals were the only Division I team in the Gym State that won this past Saturday. Idaho is on its first of 2 bye weeks this season. The team will return home after 2 weeks on the road as they host Louisiana Lafayette at the Kibbe Dome this next Saturday. Idaho is coming off a grueling contest with South Alabama in a game that lasted nearly 7 hours due to a weather delay. Coach Petrino is hoping with the time away from the field, he hopes the momentum will carry over with the extra week.
We're trying to make it a big positive that we just had 2 long road trips, 2 very physical games. So lets our guys, rebuild back up a little bit. And then the last 2 weeks we really got better in practice. Going into the Western Michigan game and going into South Alabama, we made huge strides in practice. And so now we got 2 weeks, and let's make those same strides.
Over in the NFL, former Boise State Bronco DeMarcus Lawrence led the Cowboy defense to a victory last night on Monday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals. Lawrence had 3 sacks on the Cardinals quarterback Carson Palmer. He had just 9 career sacks heading into this year. He became the first Cowboy defender to have 3 sacks in a game since 2011. With the win, the Cowboys are in a 3-way tie with the Eagles, Redskins in the NFC East. Switching to the prep ranks, the Idaho High School Athletic Association Board has voted 8-6 in favor of Kuna High School to compete at the 4A level for next year. The Cavemen have approximately 1,600 students with 14 varsity sports programs. For next season, Columbia, Kuna, and Napa, who are all members of the 5A Southern Idaho Conference, will drop down to the 4A level next year. The trio will rejoin the 4A Southern Idaho Conference and make a 9-school league. The Mountain Home Tigers will also be making a move. They will drop down from the 4A level to the 3A level, joining the Snake River Valley Conference next year. At the 5A level, the conference will have a new member with Skyview, making it a 10-member conference. When you play the game of soccer, it's not that surprising that you'll be putting a lot of miles on your legs and your feet. And for one Bronco, Jessie Vogel, she's in a league of her own when it comes to running on the pitch. Vogel has been playing the game of soccer since she was 4 years old, and she's currently the team's career leader in minutes, logging over 5,200 and counting. Oh, and she averages 5 miles of running a game.
If I had to add up all the miles I would run in a week in the summer, probably close to 10, but it's
necessary in order for me to get them, minutes that I have.
Her ability to be agile on her feet isn't her only attribute, as she is Boise State's last line of defense besides a goalie. She has a skill set to burn, as she's ranked #1 in the conference in goals against average.
It's all on me, and I know that, if I would want myself to be the last person on the field.
Soccer is who she is and who she's become, as her parents had one rule growing up: be active in something you love.
They put me in soccer, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. I always had a soccer ball in my hands, had a soccer ball in the car. Whenever we would go places, it was just always my go-to, basically.
Now, when Vogel hangs up the soccer cleats, she already has her next plan ready to go. She plans to become a nurse and live in Tennessee.
What more would you want in a nurse than someone that 24th hour of their shift or the first hour of their shift, they are themselves, they're consistent and caring within your care. She's going to kill it.
Well, rolling the Vogel and the Broncos, they have a tough match on Friday. They will play New Mexico. They're the #1 team in the conference. That will kick off at 4 p.m. at the Boas Soccer Complex.
Parents have the right attitude. Find something you love and be active in it.
Very active.
How long do you think you'd last out there in a real soccer match?
Nah, not that long. 90 minutes. I
2
couldn't
minutes.
run that long on
Oxygen.
the pitch. Oxygen, exactly.
There's a live look at Boise from our tower cam atop the Grove Hotel. The weather expert, meteorologist Scott Dorvell, is back with a final look at our forecast straight ahead.
All right, folks, let's take a look at that out-the-door forecast from YMC. And yes, indeed, it will be an amazing day. You won't need your heating or your cooling tomorrow because it will be perfect.
Right, just leave the windows open.
Absolutely gorgeous out. A cool morning and a very pleasant afternoon. The actual high temperature probably goes 73, 74 in a lot of places.
Nice.
A couple more days of it.
Can't complain about this.
No, can't about the weekend, but we won't.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone.